Let's take a deep breath. So let's take about, say, 3 deep breath of 4 seconds. Hold it for 3 seconds, then breathe out. And let's do that 4 times. Again. Again. One more time. Now let's do a mental check-in. So the day has gone by. It's now the evening time. We always talk about the outer temperature. What's the inner temperature right now? How are we feeling? Is it sunny, cloudy, stormy? Let's just take note. Keep breathing in and out. Let's go down to our toes. Let's feel our toes, wiggle our toes around. Let's begin our exercise of gratitude. Gratitude to our toes that carry us around, serve us selflessly, offering thank you. Thank you for doing what you do to help me move. Similarly, we go to the feet, the shin bone, the knees, the thighs, the stomach, chest. And we offer our gratitude for selflessly serving us. We do that with all parts of our body. Our lungs, which allow us to breathe. Breathe in oxygen. Breathe out carbon dioxide. Feeling gratitude for this sacred space where we can come and be with each other and share high and noble ideas. Gratitude to all our well-wishers, those who support us and give us strength to make it through the day. Finally, gratitude to just the entire universe, to the cosmos. Fill the entire universe with our good thoughts, with our gratitude. And feel ourselves expansive, feeling that connection with the divine inside and outside. And beyond, because ultimately, Tattvamasi, thou art that. And the final exercise, we also, besides gratitude, this idea of forgiveness. Forgiveness towards ourselves and towards all others. And to be okay with our imperfections, apparent imperfections. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Ramakrishna Paramasti. Okay, good. So today we have a small class, so it's going to be more interactive then. This is the fourth session we're giving on Yoga Sutras 1.33. And today we're going to talk about, we talked about Maitri, friendship, friendliness, according to the Hindu perspective, Yoga Sutras commentators, as well as the Buddhist perspective. We also talked about Karuna, compassion, what that really means. Kalyan Mitta, Metta, loving kindness. And we talked about how loving kindness, just like charity, first begins at home, before outside. So now, we're going to talk today, we talked about it last time, but we're going to go into more in depth about it, about Upekshanam, which means indifference. How to act towards evil-minded people. Well, we don't use the word evil in Hinduism. What word do we use? No, not, but it's one of the three gunas.
Tamas.
Yeah, tamaguna. Yes, tamaguna. So that's because evil has kind of a permanence about it. And we don't say anyone's evil, actually. We all say that everyone's divine. We're suffering from ignorance. And sometimes the mind gets more colored by tamas, rajas, sattva, right? That's an important thing. So, I'll raise there. How many here have to face toxic people in home, work, the church, all of the above and even more? Should I raise my hand too? That's the good thing about a small crowd. We can be free.
Well, we have 16 people on
Oh,
here.
wow. Okay, then I better be a little cautious then. So, yeah, this is it's both a subjective problem and an objective problem as well, that we have to deal with this idea of toxicity. And you know, the worst thing is when it becomes comparative. Maybe it starts with you, then it goes to me, then I make it more in you. So it's like the chicken and the egg. Which came first? We don't know. But we're both caught in this war of wars. And last time we talked about this, that what are toxic people? Or even what is it when my own mind is toxic? when we meet them, afterwards we feel emotionally drained, just psychically drained. That's worse than physical drain. At least when you're physically drained, you can get a good sleep. Emotionally drained, you can't neither get a good sleep, nor you have any energy to do anything. You're too tired to be pissed off, but you're pissed off inside. So that's the whole thing. So that's the, yeah. So now in the Yoga Sutras we talk about this. This is called, in the Yoga Sutras, Bhuttana. Bhuttana means what? I'm meditating, and suddenly this thought of a person or the strong thought impulse comes in my mind. It literally throws me off of my asana. That's what Bhuttana is in the Yoga Sutras. And that's one of our main obstacles. Now, like I mentioned before, when I mentioned this during the first class, Ramakrishna, Ishtadevata, he trained his holy mother, Swami Vivekananda, the direct disciples. He gave them training in meditation. Okay, but what else did he give them training on? How to recognize people, how to recognize the types of people that there are. I think it was Shakespeare that talked that so many characters in the world, yet this was one of the trainings Ramakrishna did. How to identify these. This is also part of Vedanta. We call it vichara. Vichara at this transactional reality. But as we see in Yoga Sutras 1.33, bhavana chitta prasadanam. Prasadanam means peacefulness. Unless you're able to practice friendship, compassion, and indifference, you will not be able to meditate. Not that you could just say the world is unreal. No, that just does not work. It doesn't work for householders, and it does not work for monks. No, you have to objectify. This is where our Vedanta, what does Vedanta say? How many of you have seen maybe Sarva Priyananda's talks on Drigdrishya Viveka? So what does it say to do in Drigdrishya Viveka? Objectify. Objectify what? We keep objectifying until we get to the Purusha, the Sakshi. So we have to also objectify these different thoughts coming in the mind, these different incidents coming in front of us. Too often we can't do that. It's easier to think aham brahmasmi than actually to get into the transactional reality and actually discriminate. We're too involved. So we're going to talk about the word upekshanam. And what does upekshanam mean again? Indifference. Yes, that's Swami Vivekananda said, indifference. And like I mentioned last time, Swamiji said in his commentary, he says we must have friendship for all. We must be merciful towards those that are in misery. That's karuna, compassion. And to the wicked, we must be indifferent. Now there's a lot to unpack there. What does that mean? He doesn't go, unfortunately, into the details. If the subject is a good one, we shall feel friendly towards it. If the subject of thought is one that is miserable, we shall be merciful towards the subject. If it is good, we must be glad. If it is evil, we must be indifferent. That's all he says. He doesn't go more into that. But he does in other parts, his teachings. The teachings that Ramakrishna gave to Swami Vivekananda. In fact, I just again want to review a little bit of what we did last time, because there was a lot of material there last time, and sometimes revision is very helpful. So there was a conversation in the Gospel 18, it's in 1882, M's third visit to the Master. So Ramakrishna could see that Swamiji was blessed with so many wonderful qualities that he would be later on, and even then, critiqued. Why? Out of jealousy. So Thakur could foresee that at that time, when this was 1882, At that time, Narendranath was only 19 years old. And he could see the trajectory of his life. Later on, he would become this great spiritual figure that would shake the world to its core. So he was training him. He said, Ramakrishna said to Narendranath, worldly people say all kinds of things about the spiritually minded. But look here, when an elephant moves along the street, any number of small animals may bark and cry after it, but the elephant does not even look back at them. If people speak ill of you, what will you think of them? I put that question to all of us here today, including Zoom, or those on Zoom. If people speak ill of us, what will we think of them? So Narendranath, 19 years old, with such a sharp mind, he says, I shall think that dogs are barking at me. See, Swamiji is always quick. They say a spiritual person also is nuanced and sharp, even in his sense of humor. Ramakrishna had one of the best senses of humor. Unfortunately, it gets lost in the English translation. But if you read in the original Bangla, you'd be rolling over in laughter. And then Ramakrishna says, oh no, you must not go that far. Why? God dwells in all beings. Sean's not here, but this Vijnana Vedanta.
Sean's here.
Oh, Sean's here. Okay, so Sean,
Hi,
God dwells in all beings. So he's giving your reply there. But you may be intimate only with good people. What are we talking about? This is what we're talking about. This shorala, this guilelessness, combined with what we keep saying, this Vyavaharika buddhi, practical intelligence. You must be intimate, you may be intimate only with good people. Always have your practical intelligence with you. We sometimes I think this is a real, an unfortunate thing. We sometimes think of vichara in Vedanta as cutting. Not just cutting, but how to properly see things as they are. This is why Swami Vivekananda again and again said, Maya is nothing but what? A statement of facts. So how we see things? We have to see things without biases, without discrimination, just as it is. That sounds so simple, but it's actually the hardest thing to do. You know, if you can really do that, see Maya as a statement of facts, that's the state they talk about in Vrigdrishya Viveka as the Sakshi Chaitanya. So it's not so easy to do that. So we bring Buddhism, this mindfulness, into it as well. Now, Ramakrishna continues, you may be intimate only with good people. You must keep away from the evil-minded. Now the next, how do I recognize who's evil-minded and who's good? This is the training that Ramakrishna gave to his disciples. This is the training that he gave to Holy Mother. Of course, Mother was the exception, because even the bad, how we see bad people, they were her children. So she can't discriminate. I think once like this, like a prostitute came to see her. And Ramakrishna was a very, he said, no, you can't mix with her. But she didn't say anything. She just turned her back and went away. Then Ramakrishna was afraid that he had offended the Holy Mother. Then he told his nephew, Hriday, go pacify her. Otherwise all my sadhana will go to naught. So this is our Divine Mother. So, you may be only intimate with good people. You must keep away from the evil-minded. God is even in the tiger, but you cannot embrace the tiger on that account. That is so loaded. Bhag alingam korbena in Bengali. You cannot embrace the tiger. So first, we have to first be able to recognize who's the tiger. It's not so easy. The tiger just doesn't come in a tiger form. It also comes in human forms, dog forms, all forms. Then Ramakrishna continues, you may say, why run away from a tiger, which is also a manifestation of God? The answer to that is, those who tell you to run away are also manifestations of God. And why should you not listen to them? See this practical intelligence. I wrote one article on this in Vedanta Keshari. Ramakrishna not only had this IQ, EQ, SQ. I think Daniel Goleman talked about these 22 types of intelligences, including kinesthetic intelligence, to move the body, dancing, artistic intelligence. And honestly, I don't know. It seems like if you look at Ramakrishna's life, he's a master in all the intelligences, I would say. Yes. So my analysis above that Ramakrishna is suggesting that we practice indifference, even this practicing of upekshanam, indifference, must be nuanced. Balancing this veganic discrimination of God is everywhere, sarvavyapi, but at the same time applying our own practical intelligence and not embracing the tiger. We have to think about this and how it gets applied. It's not so easy to apply. I'm going to give you 3 different examples from, I think, the best 3 examples for us. For me, I don't care who says what. I always go back to our holy trio. Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Swamiji. I think that their lives, as much as their teachings, I think their lives are even much more insightful. I'll give you the first example. It's in the Gospel on 29th September 1884. This is in Ramakrishna's room in Dakshineshwar. How many of you have been to Dakshineshwar? Okay, 2, 3, okay. So let's go to those of not. I think I showed you guys, so you guys went there. We saw that last week. Okay. Let's go to Ramakrishna's small room there. He's probably sitting on his bed. Suddenly an angry sadhu, in Bangla it's Ragi sadhu, he appears. You might think angry sadhu is a contradiction. No, you would be wrong. Okay, so Ramakrishna sees the sadhu, and what does he do? He stands up with hands folded in respectful namaskar. And he stood in that pose as long as the angry sadhu was in his room. So he was standing like this. I think he asked him for like a hookah and some tobaccos. He did that and just was like this. Now, once that angry sadhu left the room, Bhavanath his disciple joked to Ramakrishna, "Apni aur ato bhakti to ache." You have so much devotion to him. He's teasing him. And Ramakrishna replied, "Tini Narayan tamoguna rupa." He's Narayan in this tamoguna form. He's come in that form. Then he continues, "Whoever is filled with tamoguna, one should behave in this manner to please him." This is one type of upekshanam. It's like this angry thing is coming. It's a stranger. So it's like, what is that martial art? Tai Chi. The energy is coming, you just step back and let it go. Not much energy. Just let the energy go through. That's one example of upekshanam. Or what we would say skillful means. But this creates also a problem as well. Let me bring my lawyer hat into it now. Does this mean that whenever an evil person comes, we should try to pacify them? If so, what's the consequence of that? Then this world will be run only by evil people, right? And the good people will spend all their time worrying about how to please the evil people. We don't want that type of society, right? So that brings us to our next example, Holy Mother. Just read. Once when Mother was in Jairambati, after the passing of Ramakrishna, a devotee named Harish came to his village. Because of his constant visits to Dakshineshwar, he became more renunciation oriented. So his wife became displeased, and so she gave some medicine to try to turn his mind back to the world. So this medicine had a very bad effect. he went to Jairambati, or I think Kamarpukur. He saw Holy Mother there. Then he started to chase her. So she started running. And she kept chasing her around like that. Finally, after some time, Holy Mother did what? You say Ma Durga right there? So she threw him down, put her knee on his chest, and kept slapping him till her hands became red. Now, see here, Holy Mother didn't, you see the difference? There's a difference between Ramakrishna's behavior and Holy Mother's behavior. Two different circumstances where evil people or this Tamoguni Lok has come. What's the difference between the two? Can anyone say?
She tolerated as long as she tried to appease him by keeping quiet, but then that was the only way she had to deal with it.
Yes. So Holy Mother tolerated as long as she could, and when she could not anymore, she had to protect herself. That is true.
And she also had, probably that was one way she cured him of his...
Yeah, if you talk, you have to get the microphone because people can't hear. But anyway, yes. So this gives us two different ways how to handle evil-minded people, or tamogun. I don't like the word evil-minded, tamogun people, right? People filled with darkness. One way is if it's a stranger, but not doing harm, but we let it go through. Another way, you have to protect yourself. Find a way, resourceful mind, how to protect yourself. So two different instances of what? Babaharika Buddhi, this practical intelligence. Let me give you a third way. Swami Vivekananda, when he was doing his sadhana, after the passing of Ramakrishna, I think one time for days on end, he did not get any food. He was very, very hungry. He's sitting underneath a tree. Suddenly, a person appears before him, and he starts teasing Swami Vivekananda. He's saying, you see, you renounce, that's why you're not getting anything, but see how much I'm enjoying? He's eating in front of Swami Vivekananda. What did Swami Vivekananda do? He kept quiet. He didn't say anything. Then later on somebody came and the Lord came in a form and brought something. This is the third way. See three different types of ways of indifference. One, Ramakrishna, pleasing the Ragi Sadhu who is coming. Second, Holy Mother. She slammed that person down, slapping him. Third, Swami Vivekananda, just keeping quiet, not engaging. You might say, well, so Swamiji, what is the way? The way is practical intelligence. This is what we call in Vedanta, Sat Asat Vichar, discrimination between the real and the unreal in the transactional reality. And unless we do this properly, we won't have the peace of mind to practice that higher thinking. Okay? So this is something that we have to be able to recognize and act upon. Now, I was just going through this book today, how to deal with, it's a bestseller, How to Deal with Difficult People. I think his name is Gil Hassan. And I just wanted to talk about the different types of behaviors that are out there so we can learn how to recognize them. Recognize for what sake? Just for the sake of being able to label and identify. One, the author said, openly aggressive behavior. Openly aggressive behavior. We go on a bus, we see somebody being very, very openly hostile and aggressive. He writes, it can be openly hostile, it can be harsh and forceful, it can be intimidating. When someone is being openly hostile, they may shout, swear, and be abusive. They often overreact even to things that have little or no consequence to them. An openly hostile person may talk over and interrupt you or oppose you by dismissing your ideas and opinions. They are unable to compromise with you and frequently lose it. And worse yet, he or she usually feels they have to prove things and push a point. How many of us have faced that? Have faced such people in our lives? They insist they are right and you are wrong. It is my way or no way approach. So if you encounter someone as a stranger, that's one thing. But if you had to work with somebody, if you had a boss that was like that, that's tough. Or a partner, husband or wife or whatever, that's really, really tough, you know. It can be very draining. It can be very, very draining for us. They are domineering and controlling and view the world through a self-centered lens. The more self-centered they are, the more difficult they are. Their steamroller tactics can leave you feeling like you've been flattened. So we think of those cartoons. Very powerful, flattened, you know. Oh. So this is openly hostile behavior. Another behavior we can look for, passive-aggressive behavior. Again, this is not just towards others. This also, you know, in the Durga Puja we say Mahishasura, the demon. That's just not out there. We all have the three gunas within us as well. Passive-aggressive behavior can be one of the most difficult behaviors to deal with because it's expressed in obscure, underhanded ways. The person may appear passive on the surface, but is really acting out their resistance towards you in an indirect or hidden way. When someone is behaving with disguised hostility, they don't reveal their true motives, and you end up tying yourself in knots trying to work out what's going on. You may find yourself getting upset and angry, but can't be entirely sure it is justified. So this is even worse. At least with openly aggressive, you can objectify that, right? Okay, this person's like that. But with passive aggressive, it almost plays mind games. So we don't know, is it them or is it me? We don't know. And because of what I talked about last time, there's something called, it's inherent in the mind according to neuroscientists, it's called the negative bias theory. That people are inherently have negative bias toward themselves. Even the most confident person, it's just the nature of the gunas. That's why I think we talked about this. Even if 100 people compliment you during the day, if one person says, you know, Daryl, that rice was a little bit undercooked, you know, then, you know, everything else just like a tsunami, everything else just gets washed away. And that becomes our meditation for the next week, you know. So this is passive-aggressive behavior. Typically, when a person is being passive-aggressive, they are ambiguous. They give mixed messages and are unclear about what they really mean. They may use sarcasm or veiled, hostile joking and teasing, often followed by just kidding, and deny there's a problem. And if you get upset or offended, they'll accuse you of overreacting. This is like mind games, right? This is like the real Mahabharata. Rather than say what they just think or feel, people who disguise their hostility usually mutter their dissent to themselves or use a non-verbal way of expressing their feelings. For example, by giving, this is the worst, the silent treatment. You know, my God, there's nothing worse than a heavy silent treatment, you know. Or rolling their eyes, dirty looks like that. A passive-aggressive person is good at being a victim, unable or unwilling to look at their own part in the situation. This is what being passive-aggressive does. It's not that the person is being you see, an aggressive person, it's all in the unconscious, so they cannot have this vichara. Their buddhi Vinashyati in the Gita. Their buddhi is completely gone. It's like when I was in Harvard last semester, some people were shouting in the Harvard yard. They were shouting so many slogans. When they're shouting these slogans in unison, you can be sure about one thing. The mind is not working. Same thing. So that's openly aggressive. Passive aggressive, what happens, they're aware, but this is like a blind spot. They're unaware they're being passive aggressive themselves. It's in the unconscious. So they're unable to objectify it.
So that means they don't even know what they are doing.
At least it depends. I don't want to say they don't know what they're doing. It's contextual, but they won't be fully aware. But the worst type is if they are fully aware, then that's something even more dangerous. That's what we call dushta buddhi. Planning, calculating, all that. That type of that cunning. There's one Bangla word for that. What is chalak? Chalak. This cleverness. That cleverness. So Ramakrishna gave the analogy about crows. That crows are very clever and they fly high, but where are their eyes? Down below in the carrion, on the rotten flesh. So that's what chalak, cleverness, gets us. So they'll be good at playing the victim. They will go silent, sulk, and be sullen in order to get attention or sympathy. If they find they can, they will find a way to blame others. Avoid responsibility for their own feelings and emotions. I'm bringing this now back to yoga. In the second chapter of the Yoga Sutras, this tapas swadhyaya, 3 components of kriya yoga. Tapas, which means austerity, swadhyaya, and Ishvara pranidhana, which means devotion to God. Now, swadhyaya, usually we think it means study of the scriptures, according to Vyasa, one of the commentators. Another definition of swadhyaya is repetition of the mantra. Yet there is a third definition. Self-study, self-reflection. And too often this is overlooked or not emphasized enough in our Vedanta. We're good at saying the world is unreal, but we don't take enough time to learn how to engage in what I call effective self-study. And without that effective self-study, you can repeat the mantra as long as you want, these things, but that's not so easy. Without that effective self-study, it's like like Ramakrishna says, your boat will be anchored. You're not going very far. You're rowing a lot, but it's still in the same place.
Swamiji, do you mean the introspection?
Introspection, yes. Introspection. Where is the compass of this mind and this body going? How am I seeing the world? What are my biases? This is a very serious problem. In an ashram, in a monastery, outside, everywhere. It has consequences. What are my blind spots? Are there people that can call me out on my blind spots? Very, very important. Ramakrishna once came from the Panchabati. A dog was following him. This is Paramahamsa. This is he's realized every possible form of transcendence you can possibly conceive and beyond. Advaita, Vishishta Dvaita, Dvaita, Christian, Islam, Shaktism, Kashmir Shivers, whatever it may be. But when he saw this, in India, those dogs, they're like street dogs, without a collar. Swayambhu, they just are. They're their own master. When he saw that dog, he just looked and stopped and looked at it very intently. Like probably as intently as, the picture of Holy Mother looking at Sister Nivedita? Have you seen that picture? Very intent gaze. Same thing, Ramakrishna is looking at this dog. Pausing. Is the Divine Mother going to say anything through this dog? He's open to nature. Mind is open to receiving instructions from the universe. Or what Dr. Carol Dweck called the growth mindset. Ramakrishna talked about that. Javat bachi tavat shiki. As long I live, so long I learn. Swami Vivekananda said the same thing. He was always ready to learn from anyone and anything. Didn't have that sense of discrimination. So that gets lost in these passive aggressive. And it's interesting, when you work with a person who is passive aggressive, they may or may not appear cooperative, but either way, they'll do things to disrupt or sabotage a task, activity, or project, often by creating confusion around the issue. And also, this type of person may decline to contribute their ideas, but when the ideas and actions are not successful, they're the first to say, I knew it wouldn't work. People usually express their hostility and resentment in underhanded ways because, for whatever reason, they feel they are unable to say directly what they feel or think or want. So this is the opposite of what Ramakrishna said, Shorala, which means guilelessness. So Ramakrishna repeatedly said in the Kautamrita, Shorala na hoy, Bhagavan ke pawa jai na. Unless one is guileless, one cannot realize God. Or the Gita calls the doubting mind. This is the opposite. This is what this is. So these are the two types of people, and this passive aggressive, they are good at playing the victim. We talked about that. And the real problem is when that victim is your boss, my God. That's really tough then. And the second one is the negative person. The negative people often don't realize they're being difficult, but they quickly get on other people's nerves with their tendency to see or anticipate bad results or undesirable outcomes, difficulties and problems. These people bring your mood down with their pessimism and general sense of distrust. They may also be chronic worriers. What could be a minor problem for you and everyone else is a hopeless situation for them. Now the problem with this is it's contagious. Some people are so entrenched in seeing the negative side of a situation that they leave no room for positive things to happen. Their negative attitudes and opinions can be contagious. They may dash your hopes and discourage your dreams. I have one friend, I won't say her name, so she's a very, very bright person, very young too. And I don't want to talk too much about her. I don't know if she's watching or not, but she's very bright. And I was really crushed when I heard one day she's telling me, Swamiji, my father brings me down a lot, He's kind of depressed, and he also makes me feel depressed. Like, almost feel like not doing anything. So that was very heartbreaking for me to hear. Such a person of such, could be young, 22, 23 years old, just under so many ideas. And they asked me, what should I do? So I honestly did not know what to say at that time. But this I can say, whoever it may be, we cannot be in that company for very long. We have to get out. And not out of the house, but we have to stay away if a person's in that mood. And at the same time, we have to have the conversation with them that in a calm way. I don't like this, so please don't tell those ideas to me. It's a disease, and it's an illness. Be very clear about that. Swami Vivekananda was very much against that. Ramakrishna, Holy Mother. In fact, Holy Mother said something about Ramakrishna. She never saw him gloomy even for a moment. He was always cheerful. And the worst thing about this is that how many of you, even on Zoom, how many of you have heard the book The Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck? So there's two different types of mindsets, the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. The growth mindset is whatever I am, I'm aware of that, but I can always grow. I can always, every day is a new day to grow and to expand and become the best version of myself. But a person with a fixed mindset, whatever I am, this is the end of it. And now I want to prove to everybody how perfect I am, how glorious I am. Always that proving mentality. You can't have proving and learning at the same time. It's just impossible. They are diametrically opposed. If you see someone always trying to prove themselves, there's no energy, there's no room in the house. There's no room in the house to let new ideas come. Because it's blocked, right? I'm always trying to show you who I am. But we have to also be careful that what sometimes happens is that people with these ideas, they want to keep us in a box. Maybe a person hasn't seen me in 12 years or 14 years, but they want to keep me in a box. They want to keep you in a box. So there's this Jay-Z song, which I like, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is, So I love that song, And I think that that's what we have. This is what Swami Vivekananda talked about. Bring your strength into it. Bring strength, strength, strength. Strength also means what? Objectively, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? When you bring that strength in it, even just one quality, upon that you can build. That's enough. So people always want to write our narratives for us. They always want to say you're this, you're that. Our reply could be this. Okay, what's your evidence for that? Let me hear. Don't just give me your bias, because that might just be your own filters. That might be more you than me. And then secondly, okay, if there's something to learn, let me learn it and let me move on. But then I have lots of evidence to the contrary. Always have your own narrative. Cultivate your own narrative. That's very, very important. That's why I keep talking about journaling again and again. Always cultivating our narrative. This narrative which takes us towards the divine. But it's based on our objective reality too. So this is called objective self-knowledge. The Ramayana, right? Hanuman, he leapt, when he was a young small monkey, he leapt to the sun. That's why his face got burnt. But when he was in Rameshwaram and he had to go to Sri Lanka, he was thinking how to get there. Actually, I went to that spot in Rameshwaram. They said he leapt. In one leap, he jumped from Rameshwaram to Sri Lanka. But he forgot it. He didn't know he could do that. Then I think Sugriva or someone, hey, Hanumanji, you forgot when you were a small bacha, you jumped from here to the sun. This is nothing for you. Knowing our strengths. The world always wants to cut us down. But that is our opportunity to, what Swami Vivekananda said, reassert your own divinity. Divinity is not just the highest. Divinity is even what my strengths are right here, right now. That's very important. In fact, Swami Yatishwaranji talked about this. Because this is there's a lot of hypocrisy. There could be a lot of hypocrisy in spiritual life unless we have accurate self-awareness, objective self-awareness. We could be living in a different reality, which is not, because who's going to check me? Wow, today I had a vision. But who's going to tell me if that vision is objective or not? How do I know it's subjective and it's just just what it is? Who can affirm that? It's just in the mind. So it can just become like a fantasy world. That's why it has to be balanced with not just living in the clouds, but also balancing that with where we are, knowing ourselves at this level too. Swami Yatishwaranji said for that example, How many of you here have heard of Swami Yatishwaranji? He wrote the book Meditation and Spiritual Life. I don't know, but it might be here or in our library. It's a wonderful collection for sincere spiritual aspirants. Swami Yatishwaranji was very well versed in psychology. So he used to say that the majority of people that came to him with their spiritual problems, what he found in 99% of the situations, they were actually psychological problems, not spiritual problems. That's why it's very important. Ramakrishna emphasized this emotional intelligence, practical intelligence. Now, there's a third type of person. Excuse me. One second. The final type of behavior. What have we talked about? Hostile behavior, aggressive behavior. Second was passive aggressive. The third type, passive. Now it all makes sense to me. You know, some people, they seem so affable, but the moment you come near them, it's like a cactus. So it's like, you know, some invisible field. Passive behavior happens when a person does not express their true thoughts, feelings, opinions, or needs. This can manifest itself in different ways. A passive person may be what? A people pleaser. The majority of their attention is trying to please others.
But Swamiji, why they want to please?
We'll get to that. So, this is a personality type. How many of you have seen this personality type? How many are that personality type? You could, you know, in our chaplaincy class, how can you identify a person pleaser? When somebody else speaks, we usually nod. Or nodding is not so much for them, it's for us. Don't you see I'm listening to you?
And agreeing with you.
Right.
Agreeing.
Yeah. Well, that's why our GS Maharaj, people after lectures would go to him and say in Bangla, Maharaj, apni khub bhalo bolechen, after a lecture. You spoke so well. Then GS Maharaj would give the reply, Ami ki bollam? What did I say? Then, Maharaj, everything you said. Or GS Maharaj, General Secretary Maharaj.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's just doing that. He likes, you know, he's very practical, so he likes let people be awake, you know. Ramakrishna said in Bangla, Mon mukh ek koro. Let the mind and mouth be one. Don't be a hypocrite. So people pleasers, instead of voicing their own opinions or making choices that would be controversial, unpopular, or could hurt feelings, they wait for others to speak first and then agree with pretty much whatever anyone else says. They may be clingy and needy and lean on you more than they should. People pleasers are often placatory, appeasing, pacifying, and attempting to win others over. But their compliance can get irritating and difficult to deal with, especially when they overcommit themselves and let you down because they cannot say no to someone or something else. This type of person, they have difficulty establishing boundaries. And so, unfortunately, that happens. They have such a good heart, such good potential, but they get burnt out. So, what Swami Vivekananda said, conservation of energy is the first step in spiritual life. He talks about this in Raja Yoga, how to conserve our energy. All these things we're talking about is for what? Conserving our energy, not uselessly wasting it away, frittering it away. So passive behavior then can manifest itself by doing whatever others want, but it can also be evidenced by non-participation, not taking part, or not taking responsibility. Initially, you may find these people agreeable and easy to get along with, but soon it becomes clear They are not contributing anything, engaging, or taking responsibility. They rarely commit themselves or initiate activities, preferring instead to leave it to other people to get things going and make things happen. They avoid decisions, leaving you feeling frustrated at their inability to engage. And then this manifests in their language. Typically, passive people use things like, I don't know, I don't mind, it's up to you, whatever you think is best. But these responses do not tell you what they're really thinking and feeling, what their likes and dislikes are. And the problem with that is the other person then might spend their whole time, it actually drains the energy of the other person. It becomes like, we just want, let's just have the engagement, let's just have it and move on, finish it. But no, it has to keep lingering. Such a person will create lingering. In fact, all these people we're talking about today, they'll create lingering in the other person's mind. That lingering will go on and on, never feeling quite that the person's like has 2 feet on the ground, But a person may also behave in a passive way because they can't be bothered. They're not interested, they don't care, and simply have no desire to contribute and participate. So these are today the 3 types of people we went to. We talked today about the concept of upekshanam, holy indifference, how it, according to Ramakrishna, it takes nuance and practical intelligence. We showed how it can be manifested in 3 different types of ways. We gave 3 different examples: Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Swamiji. One, Ramakrishna pleased the angry sadhu, Holy Mother beat the deranged Harish, and Swamiji just kept silent, did not say anything. And then we talked about how these things can manifest in our own lives, within us, within ourselves and others. And the solutions too. One of the solutions is, I say again and again, especially with negative people, we have to cultivate our own narrative. Not only at the conscious level, especially at the unconscious level. That's why these affirmations, that's why we say these Vedantic hymns in the morning time when we wake up. We want these things to all go to the unconscious, purify the unconscious. So with that, now we can take some questions and answers, and we can project this on the ground too. Well, first we'll take Zoom first. Yeah. Turn on the Zoom first.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
Okay,
you have to. Do we have the camera here for that, so we can show them? Or you can come here then, I guess. You can show them. And please state your name and. Yeah, go ahead.
Swamiji, I'm Lakshmi. I have a question. You mentioned about journaling.
Right.
Can you expand on it a little bit?
Yeah, journaling is a way for us, as we've said, a way for us to objectify the events that happen through the day. So by journaling, it's kind of a Vedantic practice in a way that we're taking the events that are happening, and rather than like just identifying with them, we're putting them on paper. So it gives us a way to look at them just as events that have happened through the day. Otherwise, what happens, we can get too identified with them. It's a way of separation. In Vedanta, you say Dvigdrisha Viveka. So it's just a way of recording what happened. And by doing that, if we do it accurately, then we can kind of get more, sometimes we get insight. Because lots of times things happen to us, but either we're unaware, or we forget, or something else happens. So there's this Neil O'Connor, he gave a TED talk on this. he said that the life that is worth living is worth documenting. Secondly, he said one thing that uh, he said that every year, every day, for 6 months, you might sometimes get some insights. But if you don't note them down, what do you have after 6 months? Conversely, if when you get these insights, when you get these, you note them down, what do you have after 6 months? You have 6 months worth of ideas. This is what journaling is. Let's go to the Zoom first, if anyone has any questions.
Rajiv has his hand raised. Rajiv?
Yeah, I'm Rajiv.
Okay.
Yeah, Swamiji, I'm Rajiv, and my question is
We can't
like,
hear you at all, Rajiv.
oh, am I audible now?
Go ahead, Rajiv.
Yeah. So my question is,
Unmute yourself, Rajiv. We can't hear you.
He's unmuted.
Something's wrong with your.
okay. I'll
Huh?
reconnect. I will reconnect.
Rajiv, something's not. You can type it out, I think.
Yeah, type it in the chat.
Because we can't hear you. Yeah, type it in the chat. Okay, we'll go to somebody else. Is anyone else on Zoom?
Namaste, Swamiji. Can you hear me?
Okay, Glenn has a question. Yeah, Glenn, go ahead, Glenn.
No, that's
We can hear you. We can't hear
No,
anybody
Glenn's
else.
hand is raised too.
No.
Oh, that's Rajiv. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. Okay, that's okay. Okay, we'll go. That's fine. We'll just go here if anyone has any further. Yeah, go ahead. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Gina. I'm still new to my practice and I'm learning a lot about trying to, anyways, to be more balanced. Looking at these personality traits, I can see where I used to be one way, and then the 0 to 100 personality of just past, which I'm trying to non-attach. So I guess I wanted to find out from you, as I continuously move into my practice, to be more, is it sattva?
To be what? Sattvic.
Right. I have more rajasic and then tamastic, and I'm trying to get balance. So what would you suggest to start working on it? And I am doing the journaling, so I can understand what I'm going through in those moments. It's just from the way that I was raised. I'm from Massachusetts, so that's the other part.
Yeah. Oh, I think that we all come here, so we all try to cultivate like a spiritual practice is important, and a routine is very important too. At least cultivating some spiritual habits. I think not this week, a week from this Sunday we're going to give a talk, cultivating spiritual habits in an age of distraction. So I think habits are very. Charles Duhigg talked about this, the power of habits. In fact, our monks in Bellarmont, you see some of them that even in their late 90s, they still have that habit, waking up 3 o'clock in the morning and then going to the shrine, and whole day is habits. So binding yourself with good habits, that's very important. Starting with one, like a practice in the morning time, and slowly building upon that.
Param Swamiji, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, Rajiv. Yeah.
No, it's Ratan.
Oh, Ratan. Oh, yeah, Ratanji. Yes. Oh, nice to see you. Yeah.
Namaste. Pranam. So I have a question for you about Swadhyaya. You mentioned Swadhyaya today. And I was, I'm reading Swami Chaitanand's book on M, Mahendranath Gupta.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? So I was amazed by the fact that he was trained in Western philosophy. He was an educator, but when he met Sri Ramakrishna, he completely blocked out all the influences he had, and he was very focused on listening to Thakur. In that case, how would you kind of frame the Swadhyaya in his case? Because he was listening to his deeper self, right? So what does Swadhyaya mean that to you? Is it self-introspection? How would you frame it in the context of M and his relationship with Ramakrishna. You see my point?
You mean on the first meeting? Which meeting was that? No, can you repeat?
Multiple meetings, because everywhere where I read when he's interacting with Thakur, he is basically just he's blocking out all of his emotions. He's just listening. He's just very present.
Yes.
Right.
Actually, see, one thing with M and Thakur, they had and I wrote. I think I studied this. I didn't write an article on it yet, but I wanted to. Ramakrishna trained M on how to listen. M was an expert listener. In fact, there's cases in the Kautamrita Gospel where afterwards Ramakrishna asked M, "What did I say?" M would repeat what he had said. He said, "No, that's not it. This is what I said." So actually, their relationship was special. He trained him how to actually listen, how to receive information without bias.
Yes. Yeah.
So that type of concentration, I think we gave that with, I gave an article, Carl Rogers, A Way of Being, deep listening. So M was like, he can fully not only receive what's being said by Ramakrishna, but then take that and then cogitate upon it and review it in his mind again and again. And you know, they say that you keep thinking about something like the cow chewing the curd, then that Rasham will come out eventually.
Yes.
He stays with it.
Yeah. It's a very nice answer, Swamiji. And I was so amazed by you mentioned something about recording. He was always recording himself since childhood. He was always taking notes of stuff.
Yeah, he was a very introspective person.
Yeah.
And it's ironic because in Kolkata everyone talks a lot, you know. Some Bengalis are experts at giving lectures. So
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you.
sure.
So Rajiv typed his
Okay.
comment into here.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, do you want to read it or do you want me to read it?
Go ahead, read it.
I felt earlier I tended to embrace conflict and found it stimulating. The intellectual one, or debate, or thinking. But then I realized that not every person has that, and for some people, it's disturbing and not enjoyable. Then I think I started agreeing with them, not falsely, but genuinely, as if I am deliberately navigating my boat through their thought patterns and co-exploring them together. So what should be the best attitude?
Then he continues.
Yeah, you want to hear it all?
Well, yeah, let's see the whole thing, yeah.
Sometimes it's too unproductive to really speak your mind. And sometimes maybe you don't trust your mind. Maybe there's something in their perspective I don't understand yet. Until I'm 100% clear, maybe engage with them in a way we both find enjoyable and slightly helpful, if not completely.
Yeah, so he just answered his own question, you know, it's a good part. He answered his, that's exactly. So I think I agree with you, Rajiv, that what you just talked about. So it's every situation is nuanced. So sometimes you, as I think as we get better with this, I think as we, you know, we develop what Swami Vivekananda said is like a gut feel. And so we learn situations, how to better read things. And then we know we have to take less energy at that point. You know, how much energy to give? Is it something that I should explore with them? Or is it something I should say something in response? Or should I just keep quiet? So those things take nuance and experience.
And Rajiv's question is that people pleasing?
No, I think that what you said is not people pleasing. I think it's not people pleasing if you're engaging with applying your practical intelligence, which I think you're doing. So I think that's fine. Okay.
Anyone else have any questions?
Okay. One last one. Shivadas.
Good question, Swami. So in the example of the Holy Trio, Swami Vivekananda gave silence.
Right.
Would you consider that being passive or being indifferent?
Now that's holy indifference.
Okay.
And he's not reacting, he's just, that person's behaving like that. So he's just not, he's not allowing that. It's like Buddha said, if somebody gives you 100 insults, but Buddha does not accept them, where do those insults go afterwards? They go back to the giver. So that's what Swamiji is doing. He's just allowing that person to say what they are saying, and then they take it back home with them.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think that's it then.
You're gonna
Yeah, I'll chant. Okay, we're going to close then. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Paramastu. Thank you.
Sorry, Swami, somebody put in a question. This is not too late.
Oh,
Can you read it?
how to build our own narrative which is going to save us from conflicting situations, specifically in-house. What do you mean in-house? What does that mean? What does that mean in-house? Oh, I think
Yeah, it's like family situations.
family situations. Oh, so those are kind of tricky. So you have to. It's a balance, I think, of you see, one has to feel good about themselves to actually engage with family too. That, as we talked about in previous classes about what Buddha said about Maitri, about feeling good about oneself, and that feeling good about oneself should be become abundant within oneself. Then only can spill over to others. So similarly, we have to feel that kind of good about ourselves, and at the same time, in a family situation, it's more nuanced. You also have to try to see the situation and use your practical intelligence. I think if you read the life of Holy Mother, that's a beautiful example of how to do that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj.